Welcome to the podcast of School Beyond Limitations. In this podcast, you will learn how to guide your child through their school life with the intention to help them find their unique essence that will allow your daughter, your son to live a fulfilled and meaningful life. Why is it important to create offline moments for students and for children and also human beings in general? My name is Dr. Martina. I'm the co-founder, CEO and the developer of the school model of School Beyond Limitations. And if you would like your child to live a meaningful and fulfilled life, then this is the channel for you. Why is it important to create offline moments for students, for our own children, and for ourselves? I think this is an important question to ask, especially within a society where the use of digital devices is basically a never-ending process. We are constantly exposed to to what comes in from the outer world through the media and through digital devices. We are constantly attached to this to these tools, and basically what we need to provide as educators here and as parents here is for our children and ourselves to have a balanced life and to have a life that gives them a variety of different possibilities of experience. They don't seem, or we don't seem to have any other possibility anymore to keep away from this if we do not consciously choose doing that. And that's why at School Beyond Limitations, although being an online school, we are even more mindful about this because we know how much and how fast, we can get addicted. And it's now common knowledge that more and more schools, for instance, ban the use of cell phones within the school setting. And again, as a representative of School Beyond Limitations, I would not want things, such digital devices to be banned necessarily, and to focus on the aspect of restriction or punishment. And no, that's wrong, because if we start with saying this is restricted, that you are not allowed to do this, then what happens? Then it's even more appealing, and then we do not achieve what we are actually aiming to achieve. And what do we aim to achieve? We aim to achieve that the student and that the child and our own children feel balanced within their own being and in their own setting. And by providing a balance, we also need to create, of course, moments of being offline. I remember that's now 15 years back or even more, when we piloted, the use of iPad within a school setting I was the principal in. And at the time, of course, we were not exposed as much to digital devices. And I remember how much we educated ourselves and also the families and the students around the use of the iPad within the classroom and during the lessons. And it was really a shared development that we undertook. And in that specific moment, we were also guided by a school psychologist and by experts in the field who always supported us in saying that we need to provide balance and that we need to also educate ourselves and the parents around what is very healthy, what is healthy for the well-being of a child and the well-being of ourselves. And we talked about iPad-free zones, so areas within the school where the students didn't have the possibility of using the iPad because that was the iPad-free zone. And we also had iPad-free moments and times where there was no use of the iPad. And this applies also to today, even more so, because today we see, we just need to walk along the street, or go to a restaurant or whatsoever, and we see people, or be in the public transport, we see people constantly attached to their phones. And it seems as if the phone is now taking ownership of the human being rather than the other way around. So we are not, it looks like as if we were robots somehow. We were not, we don't use our free will anymore, because we are sucked into the use of this, and we don't want to be, we feel like we get distracted if somebody interrupts us with this activity. And the more we do that, the more we actually are talking about an addiction. And this is something that we care a lot at School Beyond Limitations. And that's why we do need to provide different experiences, like the iPad free zone, the iPad free times. This is what we need to do. We need to implement moments where we don't use the digital devices. And the more we do that, the better the students can understand what the difference is. And I would just like to share a recent experience within School Beyond Limitations. And as you may know, a School Beyond Limitations offers also residential weeks, where we always focus on something specific for our students, and we take them to different parts in Europe and outside of Europe, and we want them to be open-minded and to basically learn from the cultural surroundings that they are in. And that's possible if they are not distracted so much by their mobile phones. So during our last residential week, we also said, our perspective and our topic, or our approach, or our focus rather than topic, is also mindfulness. It's mindfulness and keeping away from our cell phones, and actually using that time, instead of being attached to the phone, we use the time to stay together, to be together, and to really enjoy our times together. That also implied, so it's mindfulness, and it's not punishment, it's mindfulness. It's really making a conscious decision that I don't use the phone. And one of our strategies was to hand in the cell phone before going to bed, because we know how much just the presence of the phone in the bedroom context has an impact on the sleep quality of a person, and how much we also get again sucked into this activity. So they handed their phones over to us, and initially not everyone was happy, and we still had a few, but really just a few students, if not to say maybe one or two students out of the many who still struggled at the end of the week, but the majority was actually supporting it at the end of the week. And just yesterday, one of those students who was initially very, not only skeptical, he was extremely angry, so to speak, about our new approach, reached out to me, and he said, please, Martina, could we again introduce this at our next residential week? Because I realized how much this had affected my time with my friends, and I spend much more time with my friends by playing cards, by talking to one another, by hanging out, and by not being distracted. So this is an invitation to us educators to be bold about it, within our families, as parents, to be bold about it as educators, because we provide our students with a diversity of experiences that otherwise they wouldn't be able to live. And that's why it's important that we have such offline moments where the online is not restricted, but where we consciously choose not to use the online world, and that we say, okay, we go analog now, we do it differently, what else can we do then? And that allows us maybe also to experience, the moments of, I see you, I see what you're bringing, I'm listening to you. Let's do something completely different. It may also entail that they may be bored to start with and they don't know what to do. I remembered our last residential week. Before we started the residential week, some students arrived earlier, and of course the week had not taken off yet. And what happened? Those students were constantly online, and at the time, I just observed because I wanted to observe that. And later they had this other approach, and with one of those students who was constantly online before we started, I had a conversation in our group, and this person said, you know what, I really like this because I understand that I'm open to talk to everyone, and not just with with the person next to me who may communicate with me also just online. Although we are sitting next to each other, we communicate with one another through Snapchat or by playing a game, an online game. So it is really valuable, and I invite everyone, you parents, to be bold about this, and we will be bold about this for sure. So this is what we are doing at School Beyond Limitations. Is it always straightforward? No, it's about educating ourselves and everyone about a topic that is really relevant in today's society. It's one of the most relevant topics, and I think we need to help our students and our children to navigate this life in order that for them not to get sucked in, not to get depressed, not to get numb about themselves. So if you think this is something that you also feel is important, then SBL may be the right place for you, and you will find the website in the description.
At School Beyond Limitations, we support our students find their unique essence. Feel free to share the content of this podcast with other parents. We are here to show that your children can indeed bring their unique essence into life. So, reach out to us if you think that this is what you'd like your daughter, your son to experience, or apply through our website. Also, leave your comments, your questions, or your review about the podcast. Share it with others. And as you know, sharing is caring.